Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning, or do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me speak for the love of God.
I can't think of a less appropriate song for you, Ben.
I do like to boogie. I just like to keep my boogieing and the nightlife like to my own home. And my nightlife is like a nice audio book and bed.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that?
we do attend preview screenings together, and I guess that's the extent of our nightlife, really.
Yeah, I like to have a nana nap in the middle of those preview screenings a lot of the time.
And I wouldn't say you love it. It's always a chore to go there in the first place.
It depends where it is. If it's in the city, yeah,
Which they all are.
a lot of them are. It's very unfortunate.
2 a.m. on the couch with a bag of chips and like a second-rate movie. That is my idea of a perfect nightlife.
Since I got the dog, I can't do it. I have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to give him his medicine, and then take him for a walk at about 6:30, which means I can't stay up late anymore. I just don't have the stamina.
Your dog is just your excuse now.
He certainly is.
Sometimes I order a cheeky Uber
He's
Eats.
not even sick. He doesn't need the medicine. It's just sugar pills.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, we are a couple of raging night owls, us two. That's why we do Good Movie Monday in the morning.
You are. You stay up. I don't understand. I don't know how you do it. You're like me in high school.
Well, that's the thing. We're both raging night owls, you facetiously and me actually.
Actually, yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the show. This is Good Movie Monday. We are the weekly podcast dedicated to nerdy cinematic ramblings. My name's Glenn Cochran, and this is the part where I would lob some kind of depreciating insult at Ben,
Yes.
but not anymore. I'm past that. How's it going, dickhead?
I'm doing well, cunt.
Excellent. Excellent. That's the insult that makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Ishay, brah.
If you
You
knew-
fucking cunt. You fucking dog cunt. Sorry, I watched Mr. In Between recently, and
I was about to welcome the new listeners to the show, but they're no longer here.
no,
No. Why would they be?
are you kidding? If this was a show of like a couple of like really kind of bogany guys talking about movies, that'd be great.
Yeah, we need to get that dude that does Fat Pizza on the show.
Yeah,
Hey, we've got an in with Jabber. We can get Jabber on the show.
we can get Jabber on the show.
Or
Yeah,
maybe we can get that chick from fucking Hellzo's.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or the middle class, upper middle class bogan. That
Either
one.
one or the other. The chick that's ugly on television and quite hot
Yeah.
in real life. That one. She's probably a Shazza or something like that.
Yeah, I think it is a Shazza.
Oh, is it? No, see, not hard to
think it
get. It's not hard to get it right. Anyway, if you are a new listener, welcome. You can
And
find
if
out.
you're Jabber, apologies.
Why?
Why?
It's an invite. Like, he can come on the show.
I mean, look, he thinks of me as the monster guy, which I appreciate.
Yes,
Unless he's
that's right.
talking about Jarrett, which is then very depressing.
That's right. You're memorable, mate.
Yeah.
You can find everything we do at goodmoviemonday.com. That's a hub of of everything. It's our videos, it's our podcasts, it's the interviews, it's all of that. We also have a Spotify playlist, so the music that we play on the show is there. Nearly everything we've ever played. It's like up to 15 hours worth of music, mate.
That's a lot of music.
It's a lot of music. I haven't listened to it.
Who's got that
from
kind of
start to
time? Yeah.
finish. That's right. Sometimes I put it on to drive with, but then I realised Ben chose some of these songs. No, but then I realised we did put some really
I'm sure like
far out stuff on there.
there'd be all this stuff that you know, and then a song that would come and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Ben must have chosen it.
But also, like, so the way that it's on Spotify, you might have something, let's just say by Nine Inch Nails, it's pressed up against Marconi or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very
Well, I
jarring
like to
experience.
when on the rare occasion where you ask me to contribute a song, I always like to play the game. Will Glenn ask me if this is from a movie? Because sometimes I don't know. Sometimes it's just a song I like. I'm like, sure, it's played in a movie. I'm sure it's
Right.
relevant.
Time to start fact checking Benjamin. That's for sure. Oh, dearie. I trust you, mate. I trust you.
That's a mistake.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do it.
Oh my goodness. We most weeks on this show we have a special guest, and this week we have the director André Øvredal, is the director of the new Dracula Voyage of the Demeter A movie that Stephen King described as throat-ripping good time.
There we go.
Yes. So keep
That's a king size comment. That is.
king-size comment. So
Isn't Andre he directed Autopsy of Jane Doe?
yep, and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and Troll Hunter. This is
Troll Hunter was the big one.
I love it when they get to a point where they've made enough horrors that you can kind of call them maestros, or you can call them a master of horror.
Yeah.
Like I think this guy qualifies.
I love Troll Hunter. I love that it was like polygon graphics for the trolls, and it was just like, and they played it so completely straight. It's like, this is fucking great.
It's very it's a very clever film, and it's subversive almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So we're gonna chat with him a little bit later. Well, I am anyway. That's one that you didn't have the fortune of sitting in on, unfortunately,
I
Ben.
was not invited to that interview.
So do keep listening. Also coming up shortly, Jarrett Gunn is going to discuss physical media and all the news that comes with it. And America's favourite boneheads are here to spit lyrical about their weekly fun size
Isn't
stuff.
it wax lyrical?
Spit lyrical and wax lyrical are the same.
Are they?
I think so.
I've never heard.
It's something
I've never
I
heard spit lyrical.
I invented that.
Oh, okay. You've
No,
introduced it.
I definitely know wax lyrical, but I reckon I've heard spit lyrical as well.
You've introduced it to the zeitgeist now.
Yeah,
And we'll see if it comes back to us. Like, I've always found when that. I remember in high school, I thought I'm going to start saying things as svelte, and then a couple of years later, it came back.
Ooh,
And I was
did
like,
it really?
did I invent that, or did I just pick up on something that was already in the zeitgeist? And it was very. I always tried to do that experiment, but my memory was so shit that it's potentially that I just heard someone else do it, and I was just perpetuating it for them,
But
for whoever did.
Don't you reckon spit lyrical sounds pretty good? Sounds pretty cool, pretty hip.
I think it's like it just sounds like a great way to raw dog someone. So I've been watching. Have you seen that show Shrinking? It's on Apple.
Yeah.
So good. But Harrison Ford throughout the show keeps talking about being raw dogged, and no one until they tell him what raw dogging actually is. Hysterical.
What's news with you this week?
Not much. I've just we did go and see Voyager the Demeter.
We did.
And it's got that guy in it who's seemingly who I'd never heard of before, and now he's just in fucking everything. Like he's in Late Night with the Devil,
but he's always a monster. Like,
is that who you're talking? I'm talking about the guy who's the first mate.
You're
The
talking
guy who's the
about
first mate.
David, the guy that plays the Spot in Suicide Squad.
Is that
The Dot Man, whatever his name is. Yes, he's fantastic.
David?
No, David something.
Dadian?
Yeah, something.
It ends up with an IAN.
I have no idea how to pronounce it. I'm not even going to attempt it. He's fantastic in everything.
He's great in everything, but I literally until I went to a cast and crew screening of Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
And they mentioned him in the opening speeches, and he had like a video message and stuff. And I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And then from that moment on, it's like every second movie I watch, he's in.
He hasn't even been around for long, but he feels like one of those actors that's been on the scene for ages.
He's in bloody Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I know. But I was looking up his first movie. I wish I could recall what it is at this point, but it's very recent, like something like Zodiac or something like that. Like he doesn't go back much further than that. And I was like, wow, you just have that face that and maybe it's because Barry Pepper's been around before him and they kind of look the same. They have a similar kind of thing.
But no, he's one of those guys who, like, when you watch movies in the 80s or TV shows in the 80s and people were 35 and you in your head they look like they were 50.
Yep.
They just had that gravitas. He's like one of those guys. He doesn't look like he's a 12-year-old pretty boy. He looks like he's a regular, real person.
That's right.
Like when you go back and you watch Seinfeld and you go, George is 35 in this?
Oh, far out. Don't start me on actors and how old they were at the time. Yeah. That really makes me feel old. But here's a secret for you. We almost had him on the show.
Wow. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, it was with the interview that we're playing today. He was lined up for that as well as the Irish girl that's in the film, the one from Nightingale. Supposed to be interviewing both of them, but the actor strike came up and we couldn't get him. Yep. So we got the director, but it was originally going to be the three of them.
You know what's interesting? I heard. No, maybe I won't say that. I won't say what I heard about the actor strike.
Okay.
I'll keep that for off the air.
All right. Well,
just in case, I can't remember if it was told to me in confidence or not.
Okay. Well, I'm really, really keen to hear what that is. So we'll just throw to a segment right now. there is nothing that I can say that you have not already heard. And so I'm not going to give you the usual spiel about Newsly and how great it is, and that if you go to newsly.me and download it, you can get a whole month of free premium subscription by using our exclusive code Monday without the O, MNDAY. You've heard it all before, so I'm not going to tell you that. Let's just forget about Newsly and move on with the show. Here for another week to shit all over those filthy DVDs. It's Jarrett Garn. How are you, mate?
Very good, gentlemen. And I can't even shit on the filthy DVD format this week because, as far as I can tell, there's actually no new releases coming out this week on physical media, not even on that filthy format we refer to as DVD. It's a bit of an odd week, but I didn't want to leave you high and dry, so I do actually have some news of some upcoming releases. Bit of an exclusive on one of them, although by the time you're listening to this, that exclusive's already been broken on the monsterfest.com.au site. And that is that Australia is going to get a release of The Exorcist on 4K Ultra HD. So we obviously know that it's getting released in the UK, and we know it's getting released in the US. The US release, of course, sans the Blu-ray, which means all the special feature content is actually available digitally, which is a total backward step. But thankfully, we're following the UK's lead. So they're bundling the Blu-ray with the 4K Ultra HD. So that means you get all those legacy documentaries, including that 1998 documentary, The Fear of God. It's an overwhelming amount of material that is on this release, but there's nothing new aside from the fact that you've got 4K restorations of both the original theatrical version from 1973 and the 2000 director's cut. But get this, boys, it's got Dolby Atmos. I am so excited to watch The Exorcist with Dolby Atmos. It also does have, for purists, the original mono track on there as well. But give me Dolby Atmos every day.
I'm impressed that you're breaking your own news with that one.
Well, look, yeah, I know. It's a scoop.
If you're going to be beaten to the punch, may as well be by yourself.
And precisely. So yeah, that one I'm really excited about. That's going to land locally on October 4th. It's from the Warner catalog, and obviously it's being handled locally by Roadshow. So that's the most exciting new release, and it's a catalog release. But the other release I want to mention, which ties in rather well with this week's episode, and that is the release of Dracula Voyage of the Demeter, which is coming out October 11th on Blu-ray and DVD from Studio Canal. So if you don't have an opportunity to check it out in cinemas, you can check it out on home entertainment. So yeah, that one's happening. Then two other releases. I know you're going to be excited about this one, Glenn. The new Wes Anderson, Asteroid City. It's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD, and it's coming out November 15th. So, you don't have to spend an excruciating amount of time in some sort of art house cinema catching up. Although I think this one's got a wide release because I keep seeing advertisements all over TV.
Do you know what the best thing about being in a full cinema with Wes Anderson fans is?
What's that? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one cinema I don't want to be caught in, one of those slow lines out of there as everyone goes, God, that was amazing. Oh, how funny was it? Oh, he's so quirky. Oh, I don't want to hear any of that.
I forgot for a moment that this segment is recorded for the podcast. So for people listening, I did a circle jerk motion there.
Yeah.
But at the screen I was at...
The beautiful thing about it was you composed it so well that it were like it was from a Wes Anderson film.
The screening I was at, there was one lady in the audience that laughed at every syllable that came out of anybody's mouth. But it was one of those laughs. It's like... It's like she just wants to be heard. Like there's nothing funny happening.
Are you sure Universal didn't use her as a plant just to try and encourage the rest of the audience to have a giggle?
Maybe she was just unaware of the circle jerk.
Yeah.
My question is, Glenn, before the film started, was there a quartet of people playing the recorder, like practicing for like a recorder recital?
Practicing for the circle blow.
Oh,
I don't know where this is going.
So anyway, Asteroid City, that's coming out on home entertainment. So if you don't see it in cinemas, you won't have to wait long before its physical release. And it's good that it's getting a Blu-ray and a DVD at least.
Yeah.
And then the final release I want to mention that's coming out on November 15th is a film that both of you guys really seem to enjoy. and that is Gran Turismo, the movie, on Blu-ray and DVD. At this stage, they haven't said anything about a 4K, but I wouldn't be surprised if a 4K does pop up down the track.
It's the kind of film that lends itself to 4K, that's for sure.
All the people
Totally.
watching it are going to have a PlayStation 5. Why wouldn't you juice it up on the 4K?
Yeah, well, exactly. It makes perfect sense. It's a Sony production. It ties in with the PlayStation. Yeah, go
Release
figure.
it with
But
the game, with the new version of the game.
will that just be a HD remastered version of the one that was on the PS1? Because if so, I'm in. And the only other bit of news I've got for you, gentlemen, is obviously we well and truly know that Disney have left the physical market locally. And next week, we would be seeing the release of Nightmare Before Christmas. It's being released in the US and the UK, I think around August 21st and 22nd, respectively. And of course, we're not going to get that released locally, but Disney are being so kind as to release it in cinemas on October 12th. So there you go. It's like we are going back in time, and maybe we're that test market for the rest of the world where they go, okay, well, what we do is we put it back in the vault, we force them to cinemas to see it, and then we'll put it back on Disney Plus. But yeah, so there you go. That's interesting.
They're also doing Hocus Pocus theatrically.
Yeah, absolutely. Because both of the films are like 30th anniversaries of both films, I think.
Good Halloween
1993.
stuff.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I did see, obviously Haunted Mansion's about to open in Australian cinemas. The film's reviewed really well in the States, but it hasn't done box office. And I did enjoy a tweet from Mick Garris that basically said Disney learned nothing. 30 years after the release of Hocus Pocus, they released another Halloween movie in July. And it's true. Like, Disney would clean up if they opened this in October, because it would be the only family-friendly Halloween movie for families to go out and see. And it baffles you. Why?
Baffles me.
Are they afraid of making money? They're obviously afraid of releasing stuff on physical media in Australia.
Or are they just like
they're not
so
afraid of distributing Victor Silva's powder in him? That's still on Disney Plus. They're not afraid of that.
Are they just keen to just rush stuff to market? Like they just want to get it out. Like what's
well, that's the weird thing too, because Sony have been very smart about their release strategy. They've started to push releases because they know there's going to be a void of material next year. So they've moved like that Spider-Man spin-off. What is it, like Kraken or Kraven the Hunter? That's moved from like October to like July or August next year. Ghostbusters obviously moved a couple months. So they're reorganizing their release schedule because they know there's going to be, a lull.
Yeah.
Whereas Disney, I don't know, I can't comprehend it. But I was curious to see they're actually going to do a theatrical release for Theatre Camp, which I was surprised by. I kind of thought that's the movie that they do at like the festivals. Maybe they do an odd screening here with an interview with the director via Zoom or Skype. But I didn't actually anticipate.
I think that film's going
to
perform quite well, I reckon. And if it doesn't, I think it's going to build a cult following. It sort of reeks of Drop Dead Gorgeous to me.
Yeah, Drop Dead Gorgeous meets like Waiting for Guffman or something like that. I'm really excited to check it out at MIF. But anyway, gentlemen, that's all the news for this week, and it was all news. No releases.
Back it up just for a moment, because you mentioned The Exorcist. Should we just talk about the fact that William Friedkin died last week?
Yes.
And on the 50th anniversary,
I know how timely it's.
My question about this is, it has been a miraculous death. Usually, my social media is flooded with people calling out people on their death. When someone dies, like Sean Connery died, all that people were talking about were the woman likes a bit of a slap, like stuff, like that was it, And this person is William Friedkin, notorious cunt.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think because he never went into hiding or anything. He was always out there, and he stayed that kind of character right to the bitter end. So it almost feels like everyone's super aware, and he's almost beloved for being that because he stuck
video
it out.
Of him with Nicholas Rendon, whatever his name is. The video has resurfaced of him calling him out. That's the most glorious thing ever. Like when he says that, what's the film did? It's a masterpiece, and Friedkin's like someone called a medic.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. But the one silver lining of his unfortunate passing is that we may see some more physical releases of films that he directed, because he was basically the sticking point when it came to releasing stuff. He had to oversee transfers. Sometimes he liked to retcon things like that French Connection, and then denied it and tried to blame the director of photography for it for the release. So these things have happened. And even Bug, which I know is getting a local release through Imprint, but was going to get a 4K release through Kino Lorber in the States, and that got the kibosh. And I think it was because Friedkin needed to supervise what was being put out. But now the floodgates will open, much like they did with Stanley Kubrick, and we're going to get to see a lot of these catalog titles make their way.
I might be the only one, but I would love to see The Hunter come out on 4K.
The Hunter, is it? That's not the one with Steve McQueen, is it?
No,
that wasn't
Del
his.
Toro one, and Tommy Lee Jones.
Hunted. Yeah, Hunted. Yes,
Okay,
Hunted.
The
I've never
movie.
seen. I've never seen it. I
great.
still have not seen that one. I saw it and I go, this looks a lot like, I don't know, The Edge meets
It's Rambo.
That
It's
other
Rambo.
one, Bad
It is-
Company.
It's
Right.
First Blood. It's exactly First Blood, but it's made well. It's good. I love it.
I'm just going to give it a couple more years, and I'll get to it. Much like I did with the original incarnation of the Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy. I'm letting them all age like fine wine, gentlemen. But yeah, so that's the one silver lining, I guess, of Friedkin's unfortunate passing is that
He was an
we
old
might
man.
see
He
some
was
more of
in
his catalog.
Like, he's 90 something, so
80s or 90s. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was no spring chicken, and he was still voicing his opinions on things right till the bitter end.
he's got a
So
movie
bless
that
him.
he just made that's coming out posthumously.
Oh really? I didn't realize that.
I think I sent you a link to it, Ben, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
Okay,
Yeah.
no,
But he was on Marin. He was on the WTF podcast. Not
he
too long
was.
ago about-
Yeah,
Was it a book? Was he doing a book, or was he?
I
but it-
can't recall now,
literally-
but yeah, it was only like 2 months ago, maybe. It was
It was
fairly well, maybe
probably-
even less, because he does bi-weekly episodes, Marin. So it's probably
Yeah.
like 3 weeks
I mean,
ago.
I guess when
It
you
was
get to your late
relatively
80s, early 90s, you can just drop off. Like you can be healthy as an ox and just
It doesn't take much. Yeah.
age takes you.
I will say though, we did have one person speak out against his films on the Monster Fest social media. We did like a share, obviously, commiserating his passing, and the fact that everyone got on board and gave it some love and shared it. Except one chap who came in and called Cruising a stain on American cinema.
Oh,
And he said basically because, he was a homosexual man in his 20s when the film came out, and it had an adverse effect of, people turning violent toward homosexuals and things of that nature. I know that the film did incite a lot of protest for its depiction of the community in that, at the time, the queer community. But yeah, it was kind of like, and then he also, I think, went on to say, and The Exorcist is only good because it was saved by the editor. So I think he's just a hater. But anyway, there was one voice of disdain out there.
how else were we supposed to know
But
that
that,
fisting was
That's
a
it.
thing?
I want someone to re-release Cruising on Blu-ray, actually release it locally on Blu-ray, and they can put that quote on the cover, a stain on American cinema. I
The word
reckon that's
stain is a
going to
good one.
sell.
it's a great.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah,
absolutely.
You read Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, and he talks about how he forced he was dating a dancer whose name I can't remember, but she was like a super famous dancer, and he forced her to get multiple abortions and all sorts of stuff. Like
yeah.
it was physically violent, abusive, all this sort of stuff, and it's just And then for the last part of his life, he was married to the head of one of the studios.
Okay, right.
He was married to them, so they used to fly around all over the place with it. Do you remember they came out together when they did that big Sorcerer retrospective in Melbourne?
Yeah, for
Going
me.
back now 20 years ago now, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he was a total monster, and I'm just shocked that it's all praise really, except for obviously this one guy.
This one
He's not even
individual.
he's not talking
Him.
about
It's just talking about his films.
He's
Yeah.
got a legitimate gripe about the
Yeah.
film, not about the
Yeah.
filmmaker, which is usually the can't separate the art from the artist crowd.
Yeah.
I guess
yeah,
all that information
absolutely.
is just far less known, generally speaking. Less documented. Or it's documented, but less people have read it.
Yeah.
I guess
But
it's
see, in a similar way, I didn't see, funnily enough, that much backlash against Peter Bogdanovich when he passed. And given that he was a pretty prickly character when it came to his particular relationships and treatment of women, so it is interesting. Poor old William Hurt got all the fucking. I mean, look, if those things were true that happened, understandably, but I also think that when someone passes, it's probably not the best time
not
to
the time to do it. Which is, I'm
grievances.
surprised.
Do it while they're alive. Get the shit out there and say your piece. But don't use this as an opportunity to
Or
say
even
those
do
things.
it when they're dead, but just not on the week of their death.
Yeah, absolutely. Not absolutely. Just
Which
give
is
it
what I've
give
just
it a little.
know what I'm
the last
But
5 minutes.
I'm only bringing
Hey, it's
it
been
up.
a week, Ben. It's all
It's been a
right.
week.
It's all
I'm
right.
not bringing
It's
it
been a
up
week.
because I'm
Three of
shocked
us-
that no one
all-
else has.
all three of us
Yeah.
love freaking cinema, so
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Anyway,
the thing.
gentlemen, that's it for me. So until next week, stay physical.
Hey, Glenn,
Yes,
are
Ben.
you ready for video store recommendations?
I certainly am. I forgot about that.
You forgot about video store recommendations? Video store recommendations! Every time I say it, I have to do the voice.
Yeah, I mean, you could just do it once, and I could use the sound
You could
bite
just
because
do it all
it
over again.
sounded the same. Very impressed. You'd be good in concert. You play it the way it's supposed to be.
I sing it the way I record it.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you some new version that you don't particularly. It's not quite as good.
Wouldn't mind another inflection once in a while, though.
No, I'm not capable of any at that pitch or any pitch.
Mm.
But this time I've done it in the old lucky dip way, where I've put a bunch of things,
Yep.
random things, into a thing that we then pick out, and then the other person has to come up with a couple of recommendations.
Based on.
As if a customer had come in saying, I like this. What do you recommend?
All right, cool. I do like this concept, and I love the container you bought those in. It's like it's a food Tupperware style of container.
It's a Siesta Ultra
Well,
from Coles.
the food that's missing out on that right now.
That's right. It probably
That's
still
how
has-
much you love this show.
It was contained food before I used it. So I'll start things off
Okay.
because I'm the only one who can read my own handwriting. Glenn, I'm a big fan of Charlize Theron. What movies can you recommend?
Oh no, Charlize Theron. Well, that's interesting. If you like Charlize Theron, I would say, much to Ben's disdain, go for Fury Road. I think that's a
Fuck off.
really good film. But I would go back further than that. Just trying to think of her with short hair right now.
I mean, you could go back to the early days and things like 2 Days in the Valley.
You could, but was she in Wisdom of Crocodiles? Was that
That's
her?
Jude Law.
It
I
was.
don't know who else was in it.
I thought she was in that, but I'm not. I must admit, I'm not very well versed on Charlize Theron.
She's
But
got a bit part in That Thing You Do, which is great.
yeah, she does. But I don't particularly like that movie, so I
And
wouldn't
she-
recommend it.
Oh, you don't like That Thing You Do?
I don't dislike it, but I don't like it either. Like
Yeah,
it's just
right.
it's
I'm finding the chinks in the Cochrane armour here.
come on. There's plenty of those.
But she came in. I was listening to Tom Hanks talk about it on a couple of podcasts, and said she came in to audition for the Liv Tyler part
Right.
but she was just way too good looking. This is just ridiculous. Like, we can't have her as Faye.
Far out. I'm trying to think of like the femme fatale types that she's played, and I can't for the love of me think of what
Well,
they
2 Days in
are.
the Valley is a big one of that.
Yeah, no, more recently, like 'cause around the time. Well, we
Atomic-
had
Atomic Blonde.
That was a good one for sure.
And Ultra, is she in Ultraviolet? No, that's Mila Jovovich.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of like you had Soul, like a whole bunch of these movies came out around
Snow
the same
White,
time.
the Snow Whites.
No. See, she's not an actress I think that highly of, but
She's good in the
you may as well just.
I might as well just answer this. She's good in the what's the Family Guy movies? She's in all his stuff.
Oh, Seth MacFarlane in
Seth
like
MacFarlane, the
Eight Million Ways to Die in the West,
West, yeah.
and all that. Yeah, and was she in
she's-
Ted? No, I don't think so.
No, she's in the one that Jarrett loves, the one with Patton Oswalt, where
Oh.
she's like the rich girl who ends up with, she gets dumped or whatever it is. She goes back to her hometown.
Fuck, I'm hopeless at
What's
this
that one?
particular one. I mean, I would just tell that person in the video store to get something else. Like, there are plenty of.
But you could
other-
recommend. I suppose you could recommend another actress. Like if you
Well,
like Charlize.
I'd go Kate Beckinsale, and I would go like right back to Shooting Fish and stuff like that. And
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you could like that's your skill as a video store clerk is to go. Well, if you like Charlize Theron, you'll love Kate Beckinsale.
that's true.
Peas in a pod.
No,
check out Shooting Fish.
I enjoyed this segment until I had to answer that. All right, but what I want to know is if I came into the video store, and I'm a stranger, by the way, and you get the good ones, mate. This person wants to know about Rodney Dangerfield films.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
exactly. Fucking hell, son of a
well,
bitch.
that's easy. You got to go for the Caddyshack. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe Easy Money, just to round it out.
Yep.
Then what's it? I'm trying to think of is it Willy Millie? Is that the one he's in, or is it just the Ladybugs?
Ladybugs.
The
yeah.
Ladybugs.
Yeah.
Got to get the Ladybugs for a bit of family entertainment.
Jonathan Brandis.
And Jonathan Brandis is in it. Dangerfield, the dog.
Oh, Rover Dangerfield.
Rover Dangerfield, the animated film.
Yeah.
And you could also throw in like My Five Wives or one of the later ones. But I mean, really, like those early ones, you've kind of Back to School.
I was about to say.
Back to School is a big one.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Would you recommend Natural Born Killers?
I would, but I think you need to watch those ones first.
You need to know what he's about.
You need to appreciate Rodney, and then watch that to see how truly subversive he is, and how risky that role was, because he was one of those guys that was obsessed with people liking him. Like he was constantly no one thought he was funny.
No respect.
And he's got no respect, and he's playing such a kind of unlikable Al Bundy type character. And
I would tell them to do a bit of a deep dive on YouTube of his old stand-up stuff.
Stand-up, yeah.
Amazing stuff. I'll throw one more at me here, or another one.
Another one? All right.
And make it a good one. Is it the shit one?
I like Paul Newman movies.
Okay.
What would you recommend? I've seen Cool Hand Luke, and that's it.
Cool Hand Luke. Well, there's so much more to Paul Newman than Cool Hand Luke.
And I've seen Butch Cassidy and the Sunday. I don't really.
Okay, so you're familiar with some of his earlier work and that. So why not? Well, The Sting as well. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, The Sting. I like
get The Sting too. It's it's not too bad.
Is he in The Sting too?
No, he's not. But I'll just say get it too. I like a good second-rate sequel, and I should have said it with Rodney Dangerfield, like Caddyshack 2 as well, because
Rodney's not in that one.
No, but Jackie Mason is. Jackie Mason is. Jackie Mason is to Rodney Dangerfield as what Jackie Gleason is to Paul Newman.
Although I don't think Jackie Gleason could pull off the "Hey Wang, I hear this place is restricted, so don't tell him you're Jewish."
No. Nobody's Fool.
What a great film.
That's a great one. I think very underrated. That got a imprint release, I think, recently. Or last year or the year before.
Yeah, it's quite possible, yeah.
But far out. Is it The Verdict? Was he in The Verdict?
He is The Verdict. Fuck, that's a good film.
That's a really good one. I love a good league.
And not The Accused. What's the other one that's like that? The Absence of Malice.
Yes, that's the one I was trying to think when I was thinking up The Verdict.
Yeah.
I just dropped it because I couldn't remember the name. That's because isn't he a union worker in that one or something?
He's
wanted for murder.
He's like in Absence of Malice. No, he's got like a cousin. He's like related to a mob family, but he is not in any way related to the mob at all.
Okay.
And what's that guy's name?
I could have sworn there was like a
who's the movie executive from Seinfeld? Bob Balaban.
Yeah.
Bob Balaban is like a DA who wants to squeeze him to rat on his kind of maybe union / mob family or cousins or friends or whatever. And then to do that, they find out that he's helping this, like he's got this kind of ex-girlfriend who's pretty... and Sally Field is like a journalist investigating the thing.
I will take your word for it, but I just recall there being like suspicion of murder in there as well.
Well, she the one that the girl that he's kind of friends with, she ends up killing herself.
Okay.
Because she can't handle the pressure. They reveal some kind of personal stuff about her, and she ends up killing herself.
Yep.
And they all of this stuff. It's all Bob Balaban knows all of its crap.
Yep.
But he's just using whatever he can to squeeze him, and then my favorite diabetes man, Wilfred Brimley comes in and pulls him up on it. It's a great movie. The Verdict is one that you kind of should watch with. There's another movie called The Young Philadelphians, where he's kind of like young, and he's like a young kind of lawyer kind of thing. And he gets involved with this family who are all, upper class and holier than thou, but they're actually all super corrupt.
Gotcha.
And they kind of fuck him over, and he's going to marry into the family, and then he decides he can't do it. He can't kind of do it. But then you watch Verdict, where he's like this broken down lawyer. He's kind of, been beaten down by the system so bad that he can't. handle it anymore. But that's great. And you forgot the two.
Oh, I've got one more that I'm going to throw in for free. But go on, what were you
I was going to say the Drowning Pool
Yep.
and Harper. Well,
Okay,
Harper's
yeah,
the first
yeah.
one, a Drowning Pool.
Well, I was going to throw in Road to Perdition for free
Yeah,
because he's amazing in that.
I'd take that in my 5, definitely.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
great.
No, this is number 6. I'm throwing in for
Is
free.
this 6? Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a freebie, mate.
It's a freebie.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell. I've just pulled one out. You get the good shit, mate. Like, Bruce Willis, all right? So,
Ooh.
I don't want a Bruce Willis one because I've seen them all. So,
All right.
what's the next best thing?
The next best thing to Bruce. Well, if you like Bruce, have you seen Motherless? Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Motherless Brooklyn. What's the one where he's the private detective in Brooklyn?
Is that Bruce Willis?
Bruce Willis is in it.
Because
But
I've seen everything Bruce Willis.
He's
has
only
made.
in it for a bit.
Yeah, I've
He's
seen
only
it.
in it for like 5 minutes,
I've
and
seen
then
it.
it's a Edward Norton movie basically, and Edward Norton's doing his shtick.
Mm.
It's like relatively recent.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I probably do know it, but it's not coming to
I
me.
think it's like something. It's set in New York. It's black and white. The
I
movie's
do
black and
know
white,
the
and
one.
like a
It's
noir
very
one.
recent, like last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Oh, I can't remember. That was great. And Bruce Willis is in it, which is like a surprise, and you think, oh, it's a Bruce Willis movie, but I think he gets killed at the beginning, and it's actually the thing of the plot, the MacGuffin that kind of leads you into the film.
I kind of want a poor man's Bruce Willis.
Poor man's Bruce Willis. I'm just trying to think of who that is.
Was it the what's that? Is it Antonio Sabatos Jr. or something like that? What's that guy's name?
Jesus,
Is that his
I don't know.
name?
He doesn't have the personality.
Is that his
Like
name?
maybe
Did I get it right?
Antonio Sabato Jr.
Yeah.
is like from the big hit, and
Yeah.
I'd say like Mark Wahlberg, maybe a poor man's Bruce Willis, like a modern Bruce Willis.
Okay. Because
You
I'm
could go
thinking,
down that
in my mind,
route.
a poor man's Bruce Willis is like a direct-to-video Bruce Willis, like a.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm just laying on the complexity as you're trying to get through this. Just
Yeah, I mean, like a Jason Statham,
yeah.
kind of would fit into that mold.
Yeah.
I think he's not really direct to video, but he was for a little bit.
Yep. You
He
can,
kind of bounced back, and now he's like a superstar.
can imagine Bruce Willis as the transporter.
He's got that bit. You got to have that twinkle, that kind of sense of humor, that outraged.
And bald.
Yeah, that helps. It certainly adds to the personality.
For sure.
I mean, I think if you like Bruce Willis movies, and if you don't mind foreign language films, I'd say watch the first Taxi movie, the Luc Besson Taxi movie.
Oh, yes, because I love Jimmy Fallon.
No, the French one.
Oh, does that have Queen Latifah too?
She makes a cameo on the TV.
No, that's I love Taxi, the original.
Marion Cotillard
Coutier, blah, blah, blah.
is in it, a very young
Voila.
Marion
Oui, oui, oui.
Cotillard.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of like you actually have confounded me with who is a direct to video Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And there will be one.
Oh, it's the kind of conversation that we would just have over dinner, and it'd be a
Yeah.
fluent conversation.
Like I know like a guy that I'm thinking of that would be perfect for it, but I just don't know his name. And the Vinegar Syndrome have just brought out 2 of his movies.
Oh.
And I just for the life of me can't think of it. And he just made kind of actually, you know exactly Matt McCoy. The films of Matt McCoy. He is a direct-to-video Bruce Willis. So
He was in one.
Hard Bounty, directed by Jim Wynorski. You got to check that one out. You got to watch Police Academy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
5.
Yeah, it's the Miami.
Miami Beach.
Yeah.
That's where the one where he kind of takes over. And I don't know if he still keeps going after that one. Or if
No,
they're
he
one and
doesn't.
done.
The Charlie Slatter comes in after
Comes in.
that. Yeah.
Charlie Slater's another one. You can watch All American Murder with Christopher Walken.
The
and
other
him.
Ferris Bueller.
The other Ferris Bueller. Yeah. Or Corey Nemec is also the other Ferris Bueller.
Oh, he's Parker Lewis. Yeah, that's right. Which he wrote a movie recently, which I was going to raise. Was it on this show or was it on something else with you? Anyway, it'll come to me. But he's in my zeitgeist at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's popped up in
He's
there.
written
Is it
something.
because you've been watching a lot of Diagnosis Murder on Channel 7 during the day because you work from
No.
home now?
I don't watch anything.
But I was going to say the other one to check out is Deep Star 6.
Deep Star 6,
I think he's in that one. I always get that and Leviathan mixed up, but I'm pretty sure he's in Deep Star 6, which is great. And he's great in Silicon Valley as the lawyer, kind of in the later on, and he's great as Lloyd Braun in Seinfeld. But he is my pick for direct-to-video Bruce Willis.
Excellent. Well, Corin Nemec, he wrote Dead Man's Hand. It's a Western that's coming out on DVD next month. So yeah.
Corey Nemec did.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
It was work-related. Sorry, I thought it was podcast-related, but it's not.
He's great in The Stand. He's great in The
like,
Stand.
absolutely. He's been in like Stargate as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, which is like he's great in Stargate, but the best thing about it is that he's back to being Parker Lewis cool. Because it's like he was Parker Lewis and cool, and then he was in The Stand he was a nerd, and then he kind of basically you seemingly only saw him in things as nerds.
Yeah, that's right.
Then you're like, look at this guy, like he's not really a nerd. And then in Stargate he's back to being like he's obviously hit the gym quite a bit.
Yep.
But he's kind of back to being like a kind of he's actually straddles the both because he is a nerd in the show, but he's also like a, he was kind of I can't remember if he was replacement Teal'c for a while in Stargate, so he was like the heavy of the group.
Do you remember there was a local label here or distributor that did like a Monsterama series of horror films? I think
Yes,
it was.
I do.
One of them was Dragon Wasps, I think, and he was in that, and that
I think
was
that
fantastic.
was Vendetta
Yeah, it could have been one of those sort of labels, all defined or
or
something like
Jigsaw or something like
Yeah.
one of those New Zealand based
that.
ones.
Yeah, but
that
they
released
had
stuff here.
pretty smick covers.
yeah
Yeah.
JB Hi-Fi loved them. They
yeah.
bought them in bulk.
Yep. Anyway, there we go.
The last fire will rise behind those eyes. Black house will rock. Blind boys don't lie. Immortal fear. That voice so clear through broken walls. That scream I hear. Cry, little sister. Come to your brother. Jamie, sister. Love is with your brother. Blue masquerade, strangers look on. When will they learn this loneliness? Temptation heat beats like a drum deep in your veins. I will not love, little sister. Come to your brother. Jamie, sister. Love is with your brother. My Shangri-La, I can't forget why you were mine. I need you now.
Some songs just automatically take you places, and I can't listen to that one without being whisked away to Santa Carla to Cry Little Sister from the Lost Boys soundtrack. Just trying to keep it a little bit vampire themed for the show. I know you've been wanting these themes to come back, and I've kind of brought them back, and you're just not embracing them, mate.
Well, there's just no way to make the game thing about vampire movies.
That's right. Yeah, well.
I mean, I think, yeah.
Hey, that now is your segment to do what you will with. You can just run rampant, mate.
Get ready. It'll be lovely because I'll prepare. I won't tell you what it is.
You won't.
I won't. No. By prepare, I mean in the drive over here. I'll think about it.
Okay, cool. That works. That works. And of course, I'm keeping it vampire theme because Dracula: Voyage of the Demeter is in cinemas right now, and I recently had the fortune of chatting with the director, André Øvredal. I like this guy. As we said before, some of his movies, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. He did Mortal as well. That was one from a few years ago. And I really love The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Speaking of John Carpenter, that's a very John Carpenter-esque kind of film. Really,
Indeed.
really cool. Really cool. Anyway, here it is, and we'll catch you after the Boneheads.
Hi, Andre. Congratulations on the film. I've been a massive fan of all of yours, and it's been exciting since we heard that you're in charge of this one. So, congrats.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with a compliment because I know that the script has been floating around for a long time, and they've been trying to get the movie off the ground. But I can't think of a better filmmaker for it to have landed on.
Oh, well, thank you. That's amazing. There are many fantastic filmmakers who would make a great movie out of this. So I'm lucky to be in the position to actually do it.
Sure. It's a really unique film too, because on one hand, you've got a quintessential Dracula story, but then on the other hand, it's a totally unfamiliar and unexplored one in film terms. What was the key for you to unlocking this film and making it such an original story?
I mean, it's all from the script. I mean, it's such a beautiful, wonderful concept to take that particular chapter and make that into a self-contained movie. It's in a way very obvious, but you have to actually see it. You have to see the obvious in a way. And then somebody did. Brageshot, the writer, did. He saw it. And he created this. He went deep into the novel and found and tried to describe these characters that are just kind of names and blueprints of actions described in the captain's log. And he made them into fleshed out human beings. And we got these wonderful actors to portray them, and I get to put my name on it.
For sure. And was it hard, like when you're approaching this story, and like you said, he's gone into such detail, was it hard to avoid hitting those Dracula tropes, given how iconic the story is?
Yeah, I mean, we have to select how we handle the tropes, because they're not just ideas from Bram Stoker. By now in culture, they're tropes. Yeah, they've done them a million times. So we have to constantly reinvent and just twist them enough so that it feels a bit refreshing and a bit new. So, yeah.
I definitely think it feels refreshing. And I was wondering, when you're making the film, did you look to any other films for influence or inspiration when making this? There's not a lot that I can compare it to.
I appreciate that, because I try not to use references when I'm making a movie. I know a lot of other filmmakers, some amazing ones, they seem to use references a lot, but I avoid it because I'm terrified of copying. There is enough potential to copy others already, because my head is just full of movies. So it's always going to come out something, whether I want it or not. So, but what I'm influenced by is, the awe and wonder of Guillermo del Toro, who I've been lucky enough to work with, and also the humanity of Steven Spielberg's way of portraying characters in peril in all kinds of situations, and then the starkness and the darkness of David Fincher with like a movie that I love, Seven, it kind of these kind of things just float around, and then through my filter with my team and my collaborators become the movie.
Yeah, for sure. And these are influences too that are just not that obvious when you watch it, but when you mention it, you can definitely sort of see that in your work as well, which is fantastic. It's probably an obvious answer, but have you been a Dracula fan? Like, as a horror fan, have you been into Dracula for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've loved Dracula as a character. He's such a spectacular character. There are so many good movies, and you have movies on the opposite specters. Like you have Nosferatu on one end, which is black and white and impressionistic and silent and unique and scary, really scary. And then you have a lush, beautiful gothic romance like the Coppola version. So you can portray Dracula in so many ways. And he's oftentimes, most times, sophisticated and sometimes sexy. And sometimes there is all kinds of aspects to him that we decided to just remove because this is a hardcore horror movie. We want to scare the audience this time. We don't want to do what everyone else has done.
True, and that part of his journey anyway, there was no time for any of that other stuff. So I think you've certainly nailed the brief there. Clearly, a lot of the special effects were in camera, which horror fans like myself always appreciate. But I'm wondering, when you go down that road and do so much practical stuff in camera, does that lengthen the process of shooting?
Yes, it does. I mean, when you actually have, because every element, it's so difficult with special effects makeup. It's so fiddly. It needs to look right. You need the camera and the light and everything, and to not reveal. And then you're going to have to augment in CG afterwards because the audience expectation has moved on from the days of full, all natural. You need to be able to augment, and that's also part of the process. But yes, it does make things more cumbersome for sure. But it's worth it because you get presence, you get textures and reality, and the light is hitting in a very natural way, and as it should. And yeah,
it's delicious. I mean, it must be more fun on set as well when you do things practically.
Yeah, and you can, absolutely. And all the actors are, always love having the creature performer and the creature actually there present.
Yeah. Do you get much pushback from people when you do want to go down the practical road? As far as the investors and the producers go?
No, I mean, Brad Fisher, the producer, he's obsessed with the same things.
Yeah.
Like doing it naturalistic, getting it right, getting it on screen, getting it physical. And so he and I embraced this together and found the most wonderful collaborators to help us do that. But of course, there is something, the control, you can't control it so well in post. So you have to, there is, the augmentation that happens later is also part of the process.
Yes, for sure. Just quickly touching upon the casting as well. Ashton Franchosi, very exciting to see her in this film, and a lot of us Australians know her from The Nightingale. Did that film go a long way into casting her?
Yes, but yeah, absolutely, of course. She's amazing in it, and she's such an extraordinary actress, and it's just so, it was so wonderful to work with her. She's so open and giving and questioning the character's actions, and has loads of thoughts on what the character is going through, and she's able to portray the nuances in a way that very few other people I work with is able to do.
Yes, fantastic. And Liam Cunningham is just like a legend of an actor in and of his own right. Probably one of the most perfect casting choices I've seen in a long time. He was made to be the captain of the Demeter. What does working with an actor of his caliber teach you as a director?
It teaches me about collaboration. It teaches me that the performance is sometimes just in the small nuances and the pauses and the way lines are spoken and the language, and he's very professional, but he's also very present, and he's in the moment, and he can take direction, and he comes up with suggestions all the time. He's always like thinking and doubting, oh wait, did I do that? And then he would come up to me and why can we, let's do it this way in the next take, and I love actors like that. So
Absolutely, for sure. Very exciting to be working with someone like him, I'm sure. But final question before I let you run. You and I'm guessing, around about the same generation, and I have no doubt that you grew up with all of those Amblin movies in the 80s. They've been influential to you, I'm sure. Now that you're making a film with Amblin and DreamWorks involved, is that surreal for you? Like, would be for me.
No, beyond surreal. I remember having the first meeting years ago at Amblin, and I was like, "What the hell am I doing here?" But so no, it's completely surreal to see the DreamWorks logo on a movie that I have my name on. It's yeah.
As a movie lover and a horror lover, it got me excited to see as well. So anyway, thank you so much, André, for your time. I really appreciate it, and good luck with the rest of the promotion.
Thank you.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Font Size, and we're going to be talking about what, Chad?
Worst accents, mate.
Worst accents, mate. And we do this show. I don't know why I went from like really shitty Paul Hogan to really shitty Sid Vicious there for some reason.
I cannot do an accent for the life of me.
Bobby, whatnot, and all that, and shrimp and bluey for our Australian friends. I don't bluey takes Australia. There's a lot of bad accents, by the way. I have a ton.
Well, maybe we can do a bigger episode on this at a later date. But this is a 5-minute segment, Joe.
I only do Bonehead Weekly, but one of the worst, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. And tonight they added it on Peacock. And I thought, man, I remember liking the opening. I'll just watch the opening. And it was Van Helsing, Stephen Sommers Van Helsing. Okay. Even the opening's pretty rough. I remember liking it, but it still sucks because Dracula is awful.
It's kind of funny. I watched it I probably watched it maybe the same day with Abby because she was wanting to watch something like similar to that. I'm like, oh, we can watch this, and she couldn't stand it.
Oh, dude, and it has all the elements. It has everything I want. It has a black and white opening. All the creatures that I love. The Brides of Dracula that I love because Brides of Dracula actually is one of my favorite Hammer films. It's the one without Christopher Lee. But real quick. The weirdest accent. I don't know what the hell Kate Beckinsale is doing in that movie. I don't know what. First of all, the dialogue doesn't help her, but the accent that she's doing. I mean, I have a list, but
is she not actually Romanian?
James, if you haven't watched it in 15 years, I'm glad Chad was another person who saw it because I didn't finish it. I didn't finish it.
Yeah, no, and Kate Beckinsale was actually she on my narrowed down list. She was in the top 3, but somebody surpassed her.
Oh, there's a list. There's actually one I'd like to say, but it's a movie you love, so we may just do it later.
We'll save that for our feature link.
Or James, go.
James, you go, man. I'll keep going last.
You know, I was thinking I could go for the low-hanging fruit of somebody that slaughters a Southern accent and pick Nicolas Cage. But there's somebody that's actually a more egregious...
Put the bunny in the ball.
Basket.
There's a more egregious offender that people have forgotten because most people didn't see the movie. You do not become Southern by elongating your vowel sound.
Yes, you do, sir.
And I refer you to, if you haven't seen it lately... Sorry, Orlando Bloom, but I didn't believe you were from Kentucky at all in Elizabethtown.
No, that actually is on a lot of the lists. If you Google,
you can watch it and think about his voice.
Yeah, it's right.
Never seen it.
It's right up there with Dick Van Dyke. It's so boring. It's not even poorly made. It's just an incredibly boring movie. That's completely none of the people that go to E-Town are believable. Some of the people who live in E-Town are believable, but none of them. No.
But no, Southern accents are not just long vowel sounds.
Yeah.
I mean, and we cover ours as best we can and do a terrible job, but still.
So guys, I haven't done this in over a year, I think, but I'm doing a twofer.
Keep going.
Go ahead. Go.
The twofer is actually one actor, but he does 2 horrible accents in 2 different movies. And he is one of our favorite actors of all time. Tim Curry in McHale's Navy, where he plays the Russian.
It's bad.
And the Romanian in Congo.
Now, Congo, I was going to watch a while back because that's another one I haven't seen in 20-some years that it was like, meh, okay. When it
I
loved it, but I didn't.
I read the book Congo before I saw the movie, and I was kind of like, it's all right, but the book's better. But no, he slaughters the Russian accent in Mikhail's Navy. He enunciates every word. I can't do it, but I will say this: he does it to a comedic effect where it's actually somewhat okay for me because
Tim Curry.
He's still Tim Curry doing a Russian accent, and when he gets pissed, it's amazing. I can't say that about Congo. His Romanian accent's like a combination of South African, a little bit of Australian, maybe some British, and then you suck in a whole can of helium.
Yeah,
that's his accent in the Congo. Again, just an amazing actor who did two of the most horrible accents in movie history. So I thought I had to mention Tim Curry.
This has been Bonehead Weekly Fun Size.
There we go. Boneheads. Thank you, guys. Movies with actors doing bad accents. That's a great theme.
That's every Russell Crowe movie.
Yeah, so true. Particularly recently.
Like I love. I can't remember the name of it. Was it A Good
Man?
It's a movie of the book.
Yeah, I know.
About the guy.
I know the one. I thought it was A Good Man. A Good Year.
A Good Year.
Yep.
A Good Year. And he's supposed to be playing a Brit.
Yeah.
His accent drops in and out over the course of the film, and it was never that good to begin with.
He's pretty dodgy on most of the accents. So I found it interesting that Joe said Van Helsing, Kate Beckinsale, which is a good point, but that's very on theme with the vampires. But if you want to talk vampires, let's go Keanu Reeves in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think if you're paying attention to Kate Beckinsale's accent, you're paying attention to the wrong things about Kate Beckinsale.
Here's a couple for you, though. What about Don Cheadle in Ocean's 11?
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Barney Rubble, like it's a terrible accent. Yeah. And Kevin Costner, of course, his British accent in Prince of Thieves is incredible.
Well, that's what I love about it because he does. It's like Sean Connery's Russian accent in Hunt for Red October.
Yeah,
just doesn't bother. I'm not doing one.
No, that's right. This is my voice.
Shelley.
and Sean Connery's in Prince of Thieves.
And they fucking work. Well, he actually is. But yeah. Is the King of England Scottish? Could be.
Maybe.
I mean, William Wallace, they would have been a lot happier. Yeah.
That's right.
But
anyway.
Isn't he also he's King Arthur in First Night as well?
Yeah.
He's played a lot of kings.
It's been a lot of
English kings.
Sean Connery talk lately. Jarrett segment.
Yeah. I love Sean.
Yes. I'll take the rapist for 300, please.
The penis mightier.
Let us recommend some movies.
I like that suit you're wearing there, Glenn.
Oh.
They make it in man size. How's your mother, Trebek? That's what your mother said to me last night, Trebek.
I want to keep things a little bit vampire related here. So I was going to do Fearless Vampire Killers, but I speak about that a bit too much. Yeah, so instead I'm going to go Fright Night Part 2. 1988. And obviously, I mean, make sure you see the first movie first before you see this one. But I do think, in all sincerity, it's one of the more underrated horror films in general. I think it's a really good film that doesn't get the attention it probably deserves. I don't know why it's regarded so badly, but Tommy Lee Wallace directed this one. He took over the franchise from Tom Holland, and it kind of it resets things almost after the events of the first movie because what's the lead actor? I can't remember his name from part one. Fuck. You know who I'm talking about, though, the main kid.
The main kid is William Ragsdale.
That sounds about right. So,
I think from Herman's Head.
Yes. So at the start of part 2, it's established that it's 3 years later, and he's been going to therapy, and he's been convinced that it was all make believe, that it was actually a serial killer that was lying, pretending to be a vampire, right? So he's convinced that vampires no longer exist. There's all kinds of psychiatric therapy convincing him of that. But then he discovers that a new coven of she-vamps moves into the neighborhood.
She-vamps.
Yeah.
Sexy.
Oh, it is very sexy. But it's just a whole lot of fun. You know the guy from Napoleon Dynamite, John Cries or Cryles? Is that his name?
John Grease.
Grease, that's it. He's sort of one of the henchmen or the...
He's great. You know, his father was like a big-time Hollywood director.
Was he?
That movie Will Penny with
right.
Charlton Heston. And
that doesn't surprise me. He kind of has that thing about him. He's kind of like a what we would say for Jackie Earl Haley, whatever his fucking name is. Similar kind of.
Well, John Greaves was a child star. Like
Yeah.
he was in Will Penny as the little kid and stuff.
So he plays sort of
Dad
like
put him
a
in his movies.
like a bodyguard to these she-vamps, and it's very funny. It's very surreal, nightmarish, comical, all that kind of stuff. And look, this is controversial, but I think Fright Night 2 flows better than Part 1. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily a better movie. I enjoy it more. That's probably just because of my penchant for number 2 sequels. But it does flow so good. And why is this so maligned? I don't know. Have you seen this?
No.
No? Great poster too, by the way. Remember that
It's
white
not,
cover with the face on it?
Is it Fright Night? It's the one that comes with the coffin case.
Well, that's one version of it. But
Yeah.
the other one is like it's a white cover with a she-vamp on the front with a red lipstick and
Yeah,
the
right.
fangs.
Which I think is actually the harder to get of the two.
Possibly.
Because everyone collected the coffin case.
Yeah, I know. Like you can the white case. If you go even DVD, I think it's reaching hundreds of dollars online now. It's out of print.
Fucking everything. Anything that you actually want.
Yeah, that's right. But yes, the
But is it Amanda Best? Does she turn up? She's in the first one.
She's
isn't
in the
she?
first one, but she's not in the second.
She's the girlfriend in the first one.
Yeah, the second was definitely like a step down budget wise, because you also don't have Stephen Godfrey's in it either. Well, he dies in the first one, but you can bring them back. They're vampires. But yeah, I don't know. Look, I love my number 2 sequels. This is one that is genuinely a good one. Like, I can concede that I love Caddyshack 2 and it is a bad movie, right? But I think Fright Night 2 is a good movie, and I'd love to hear what people think of it if they've seen it, because holds up. Watched it last week and it's as good as the first one. There we
Yeah,
go.
right.
That's my recommendation.
Nice.
Fright Night 2, 88.
Well, I'm going to keep it on vampire track.
Ooh.
But I'm going to talk about a movie that I actually, disclaimer, I worked on the release of this film.
Excellent.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is 2014's Summer of Blood.
Right. I've not seen that.
Which is it's an indie comedy vampire film.
Mhm.
A New York indie comedy vampire film. Directed by this guy, Erna Turkel, who has done a bunch of films since. Basically about this kind of emotionally stunted, overweight kind of schlub who's basically, I think he cheats on his girlfriend whenever he gets the chance, and then doesn't understand why she dumps him.
Right.
But he's like, he's lazy and kind of also, But then one night he's out on the town and he gets bitten by this vampire, and he becomes one, but it turns him into this like sexual Lothario, and while he craves blood, but he can hypnotize women into having sex with him and start like he goes kind of nuts, and it's just a lot of fun. It's just such a great kind of indie, kind of it definitely has that day trippers /
it kind of, I'm looking at the poster and
Ed's next move type.
It kind of reminds me of Spaghetti Man, the one I mentioned a few weeks ago. About the schlob that
Well, there's if you look at, there's a couple of alternate ones. There's one where he's wearing a balaclava and all stuff. Like it's pretty
cool. I'm looking at this guy's IMDb page, and he's directed quite a few films.
Yeah, he keeps making them.
Wicked, I love that. But they're all in the same sort of realm, like same budget. Yeah.
But it's this movie, I don't know if it's on any streaming services.
Let's have a look while we're here.
But you can definitely buy it from the Monster Pictures website.
Oh, that's all you need to know. Summer of
Buy it on
Blood.
DVD.
Here it is. It is on Apple TV, and that's it.
So it's on iTunes. We put it on iTunes, so that's interesting.
It's a rental by. Mind you, JustWatch.com, where I'm looking this up right now, is not that reliable.
No, especially it doesn't. It rarely does the TV.
Yeah, well, it's
channels
an
and-
American website, and I guess the other territories, it's sort of like it's extra work for them. anyway, well, that's it. That's a wrap. That brings us to the end of another show, and the fun doesn't stop there. So you can join us on Facebook and YouTube this week for more of it. We'll have videos going up most nights, including trailer reactions. We've got myself and Chloe doing the Wednesday Up Late podcast, which also has a video component. Lots of fun stuff. So catch us there. Would you like to sign us out of this episode, Ben? You've got a song that you chose for this particular one. He's looking at me like a deer in headlights. Be Monster in Black Tights.
Oh, yes. By Screaming Lord Such.
Yep.
This is a cracker of a song.
And what movie is this from, Ben?
Don't know, Glenn. Don't know. But it's kind of on theme.
It's okay.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I first heard it on the Sex Anthology CD that from I think was it Vivian? Like not what's that English designer Westwood? Vivian Westwood.
Could be. I don't know.
He was like this arty clothing shop in Soho.
Yep.
That also like they did like vinyl and fetish wear and all sorts of stuff. In the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
And she had this jukebox, and she just put songs that she liked on it. And so this they put out this compilation CD of the best of that jukebox selection.
Yep.
And this is one of those songs, but I'm positive it's been used in multiple movie soundtracks.
Okay,
but,
we're just not going to know right now.
I just don't know. No.
We're playing it anyway. Enjoy,
But I
everybody.
snuck it past the keeper.
Have a good week. See you next time.
Bye.
My monster in black tights. You got the kind of blood that I likes. I remember the day you dragged me away and left me on a barbed wire fence. You tickled my monster in black tights. You got the kind of eye that I likes, with your wrinkled up chin where the worms have been. You make me wanna hold you tight. Oh, I love to see you hopping along. What else can he do with 3 legs? No, it may seem ever so wrong. I like you best when you're in your best, my monster in black tights. You're everything a freak like I likes. And if you say you won't run away, I'll untie your chains today. Oh, I love to see you hopping along. I've got 3 legs too, though it may seem ever so wrong. I like you best when you're in your best, my monster in black tights. You're everything a freak like I likes. And if you say you won't run away, I'll untie your chains today. And I'll feed you, dear. And I'll take your cage away. Come on, my dear, my hideous little monster. Let's go